One of the best parts of the World Cup is celebrating how much national identity is wrapped up within the beautiful game. One of the most interesting examples this time around is Paraguay, where the national team embodies the idea of garra, Guaraní, basically a very Paraguayan ideal of resilience and an assurance that they won't go down without a fight, a trait that will definitely be on display this summer at the World Cup. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules. We will learn everything you need to know about all 48 of the national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup. From the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, and cultural moments. I'm David Goss, and today we are talking about La Albirroja. We are talking about Paraguay. The term garra, Guaraní, and this idea of Paraguayan bravery has its roots with the Guaraní people, an indigenous people prominent in Paraguay. The Guaraní language is commonly used in Paraguay, making them the only legally bilingual country in South America, and is reportedly sometimes used by the national team. It's a little bit of a secret code when playing other South American teams. While it's definitely a strength of the national team, garra, Guaraní was born out of one of Paraguay's worst moments. In the mid-19th century, Paraguay was one of the richest countries in South America. But according to a New York Times article, from 1865 to 1870, it fought Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay in the War of the Triple Alliance. It is the bloodiest war ever waged on South American continent. Paraguay lost large parts of its territory, its entire army, and half its population. By the end of the war, only 10% of its remaining inhabitants were fighting-eligible men. Thus, La Garra Guaraní, the willingness to fight to the bitter end, was born and eventually adopted into a sporting context. The national team stadium in Asunción is even called Defensores del Chaco Stadium, Defenders of the Chaco, named after the Paraguayan soldiers in the Chaco War. The most widely accepted story about the origins of the game in Paraguay is that Dutchman William Paats, who moved to Asunción from the Netherlands back in 1888, brought a football back with him from a trip to Buenos Aires, Argentina. There's a second story around the same time. Maybe it was English railroad workers who organized the game against locals. But at first, football was only practiced by the upper class. It soon became wildly popular across all social classes. By 1900, small tournaments were being played at the Plaza de Armas in downtown Asunción. Because of the large attendance and success, Paats decided to create the first club team, Olimpia Football Club, renamed Club Olimpia in 1902, and by 1906, the Paraguayan Football Association was founded. In 1910, Paraguay formed its first national team squad to face off against a squad from Corrientes, Argentina. Paraguay was one of the original 13 teams at the 1930 World Cup. They beat Belgium 1-0, but they did not advance to the knockout rounds. They have made 7 other appearances since then, but their best finish came in 2010 when they reached the quarterfinals. Paraguay has missed out now on 3 straight World Cups since then, 2014, 18, and 2022. So, this year marks a major resurgence. In South America, Paraguay has won 2 continental titles, in 1953 and 1979. They're ranked 4th all-time in Copa América history, behind Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. They have been runners-up 6 times, in 1922, 29, 47, 49, 63, and then 2011. 2011, when Paraguay reached that Copa America final, they did so without winning a single game in regular time. They drew every match, including both knockout rounds, and advanced on penalties before losing to Uruguay in the final. Fans still call it the most Paraguayan run ever. Pure garra, Guaraní. 2010 was the historic high for Paraguay. They topped Group F after draws with Italy and New Zealand and a win over Slovakia. They had a round of 16 matchup versus Japan, which was scoreless after regulation and extra time, and headed to penalties. Paraguay were perfect with their penalties, going 5 for 5, while Japan missed their 3rd, and that tiny margin was enough to send Paraguay through to the quarterfinals, where they faced Spain. They played Spain hard. The Guaraní grit was on full display. In the second half, David Villa goal was enough for a 1-0 Spain win. It is the furthest Paraguay has ever made it in a World Cup, and allowed their resilience and work ethic to be on full display to the globe. Paraguay secured direct qualification to the 2026 World Cup by finishing 6th in the CONMEBOL qualifying table and breaking a 16-year absence. Now, it is worth pointing out that before the expansion to 48 teams, 6th in CONMEBOL would have left you out of not only the World Cup, but the Intercontinental playoffs. So Paraguay is an example of a team benefiting from the expanded structure. They had some big results, though, to get here. A 1-0 away win versus Peru that sealed their ultimate qualification. That came off the back of a 2-0 home victory versus Uruguay and a huge 1-0 home win against Brazil, in which Diego Gomez scored the winner in the 20th minute. The win signaled belief, progress, and tactical maturity, and gave confidence heading into a major competition. Historically, Paraguay has been built on organization, grit, and resilience. Their philosophy has been rooted in discipline, defensive strength, and collective spirit. Unlike the other South American sides, Paraguay is based on more rock-solid defending and set-piece mastery and work ethic over individualism. Now, of course, the beauty of the 2010 team was they had that with attacking legends like a Salvador Cabañas and a Roque Santa Cruz. But in recent times, they've tried to add in a little bit more of the technical and attacking nuances with the talent they've gotten. They've done so without abandoning their defensive-minded style. Under coach Gustavo Alfaro, Paraguay have emphasized defensive organization, a compact shape, and counter-attacking transition. Their tactical identity forces opponents wide and limits the possession in the middle through their low to mid defensive block. Once possession's won, the team looks to exploit spaces via forward runners and wide players supported by their creative figures. Paraguay also places emphasis on dead balls, both offensively and defensively. Their trajectory has positive. Securing qualification after a long absence gives the team renewed belief. Paraguay already boasts an amazing amount of talent, including Atlanta United's current and former Newcastle midfielder Miguel Almirón, Strasbourg's Julio Enciso, Ramon Sosa to name a few, but the player to watch, the young and up-and-coming star, Diego Gomez. 22-year-old midfielder for Brighton in the Premier League. He began his career at Libertad in Paraguay, then had a quick stint at Inter Miami before moving across the pond at the start of 2025. This rise from Paraguay to the Premier League has taken less than 3 years, a speed, a trajectory that shows the faith that the clubs have placed in his potential. He's a proven leader, having captained Paraguay's U20 and U23 sides. The versatile midfielder can operate anywhere in midfield, deeper, farther up, and across the attacking positions, either central or out wide. The question is how he can become a consistent starter at his club level to influence the games game in and game out, and eventually emerge as the superstar alongside Almirón and Enciso. There are many great players in Paraguay's history, but Jose Luis Chilavert is one of the most unconventional and influential players in Paraguay's football history and the world. He was captain of the national side. His leadership, personality, and ability to influence matches made him not just a great player, but a national symbol of competitiveness and ambition. He was the national team goalkeeper from 1989 to 2003 and a legend at Vélez Sarsfield in Argentina. He scored 67 career goals, including 8 for Paraguay, making him one of the highest scoring goalkeepers in soccer history. He's a free kick specialist who often took penalties. He once scored a hat-trick for Vélez Sarsfield, only goalkeeper to ever do so in a professional match. He was a larger-than-life personality, but he was also considered a little bit crazy. He allegedly threw punches at Faustino Asprilla and Diego Maradona. He once received a suspended prison sentence for attacking a physiotherapist. He had no filter and often called out a lot of Paraguayan politicians' corruption. And while Chilavert gets a lot of the spotlight, Arsenio Orico is also considered an all-time great. His career, though, goes all the way back to the 1930s. He scored an extraordinary 295 goals professionally in Argentina's top division for Independiente. He was considered an inspiration to one of the greatest players of all time, Alfredo Di Stefano. Club Nacional Stadium is named after him, and sections of Defensores del Chaco Stadium in Paraguay and the Libertadores de America Stadium in Avellaneda also carry Arsenio Rico's name. Rico is a foundational figure whose name lingers in the fabric of Paraguayan football. The sport is the social glue in Paraguay. The beautiful games played all around, whether in big cities or small towns. When the national team plays, cafes, bars, and homes become a hub of collective energy as fans don the red, white, and blue and follow every moment. The local clubs anchor neighborhood pride, family traditions, and social bonds. Paraguay is officially bilingual, Spanish and Guarani. Football commentators, fans, chants, and even national team campaigns sometimes incorporate Guarani, reinforcing that the sport is part of the national identity. There is a social ritual of tereri that often accompanies football gatherings. That's a cold yerba mate drink that is drank out of and shared from a guampa. Like everyone else in South America, when the national team plays, streets are empty. People gather at homes or outside at screenings. The anticipation and energy becomes part of the weekly cycle. The entire nation participates emotionally, socially, culturally. That's why their World Cup campaigns have meant so much to them. And they will hope it will be the case once again in 2026. The World Cup draw was favorable to Paraguay. They are alongside the co-host United States, Australia, and a UEFA team to be decided in the playoff. It is not an easy group, but it is a group whose other team style might fit against Paraguay. They will be low-scoring competitive games, and that Guarani grit might just be enough to get them over the line. And as always, we love to leave you with a fun fact. Before modern upgrades were made, several Paraguayan clubs shared fields with grazing livestock. At Club Nacional's old ground, cows would sometimes wander across the pitch before matches. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, the information you got, as well as our nice little fun facts, we've got more on the way. We are doing one of these for every single country at the 2026 World Cup, so you can get it wherever you get your podcast at Kickback26, and follow us on social media for all of our coverage of the World Cup teams going through the tournament.